Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is DMIX and this is Full-Time Composing. So as the clickbaity thumbnail on the YouTube video said, I recently quit my full-time job to do music. So just a disclaimer before we get started, this video series is not meant to be a tutorial or telling you what you should do. This is more of a video log or diary representing what I have done, the steps that I've taken to get here and the reasons why, in hopes that this will give you guys some insight into what it's like as soon as you quit your job and start composing for film and TV full-time. So I am not an expert, this is not a tutorial, and maybe you shouldn't take me seriously. So this is my first full week without a full-time job. 2 weeks ago I put my 2 weeks notice in for a variety of reasons. At the time I was working on a full-length film, still am, called The Wild Man. It's a horror movie directed by Ryan Jessup. It's gonna be pretty awesome. I was working on that film and I was asked to do samples for another web series coming up. And I realized that I only had time to pick one thing to do when I got home from work. And that was what really gave me the indication that it was time to make some kind of move. Because I realized that I've fallen into this loop, essentially, of always working on just what's in front of me and not really securing the next thing and not securing the next job. And I was wondering why my career wasn't going anywhere, and it was for that reason. Up until now, I've always allowed things to sort of just come my way, and if I had time to work on them, then I would. If not, then I would have to pass on them, not realizing that that could be the one that pushes me just a little bit forward. And so I got tired of only having time to work on one of my many things that I had going on at the end of the day after work. So you get home from work, you're exhausted, you only have about maybe 3 hours until you're so burnt out that you gotta either chill or go to bed. And you have to pick, am I gonna work on this film that I'm doing right now? Am I going to write these samples for this director so I can get a web series in the future? Am I going to sit down and contact some new clients, cold email, cold call, whatever it takes, or reach out to people that I've worked for in the past and, ask them if they have anything going on? Am I going to get a chance to practice composing in general, be able to step outside of my box and maybe write something for just myself for a change? But most importantly, I was worried about not getting the next gig. I was in danger of not getting the next gig. And when you have a full-time job, you work 40 hours a week, you don't have the time or the motivation to do what it takes to actually get the next thing. You're always waiting for the next thing to come to you. And it was just that revelation that I had that made me say, okay, it's time. I'm going to put in my 2 weeks notice and I'm going to figure out how to do this thing. Luckily, I had a little bit of money saved up to last me maybe 5 to 6 months. If things go incredibly south, which I don't think that it will. I don't think that I'm going to make zero money, but it's certainly not going to match what I was making with a full-time job. Right away, at least. But the idea is that it's going to give me the time and the motivation to get there. So some of the things that I'm planning on doing starting now, week 1, is I'm going to, for one, focus on my current projects because I still got to finish up that film. I still got to finish up the samples for this director for this web series so I can get the next thing. And then I'm going to spend a lot of time networking, cold emailing, cold calling, and finding new clients, making new relationships, and just plain old outreach and trying to find the next thing. Another thing that I'm going to be focusing on is this channel. This is another thing that I've never had the time or the energy to do. Another thing is I'm going to start making library music, so stock music, royalty-free music, loops, stuff like that. I need to start building up that portfolio so I can get those submitted to the right library. From what I've learned, it takes a lot of time to be successful from making library music. Sometimes you don't have a decent payout until a year or even years later. So it's important to start that now. Imagine that as an investment, and that is another thing that I've never had the time or the energy to do. And another thing I'm going to do is work on my solo music. A lot of the time, I would get home from work and I would have to choose between, doing what I consider my part-time job, which is composing for film and TV, or working on music that's actually for myself and challenging myself as a composer. And that's super important for you to do. I have an orchestral album that I'm writing. I have an electronic album that I'm writing. And these have been put into the back corner for almost years now. If I don't actually make the time to sit down and do them, then they will never get done. Lastly, the biggest change that I'm making is I'm going to exercise regularly, because my job was, not very, but, slightly physical. And so going from that to sitting on a computer for hours a day is not going to look good, and it's not going to feel good. So over the course of these videos, if you guys see me expanding, then you'll know that I have failed in that duty. So in conclusion, what to expect from this channel is an honest look at what it's like to leave your job for the first time and try to compose full time. It's going to be honest, sometimes brutal, but I'm going to tell you guys exactly what it's like to do it starting at day one, because it's happening right now. So a lot of the things we'll talk about are what I'm doing from day to day, whether I'm calling new clients, or I am working on library music, or I'm finishing up a film score, or maybe I'm just taking a day off because I need to recharge, because when you make something your job, it becomes a job and you do need to take breaks. I would like to get into some of the technical aspects. Maybe I'll talk about my template, my workflow, some of the sounds that I use, how I compose, actually scoring the film, stuff like that. I would love to get into that kind of stuff too. But for the most part, this channel will be about the logistics and the reality of what it's like to be a full-time composer. Alright guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're going to enjoy the next few videos. I'm going to be releasing these weekly, so please give a like and a subscribe, because that is how YouTubers make money. Alrighty guys, see you next time.